You're watching Meet the Movie Press, and coming up, we're going to be talking about Daniel Craig returning as Bond, Avatar 2, all kinds of great stuff. Michael Keaton and Dumbo, stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
That was nice. Start with a sniff.
Yes, sorry. Ooh, excuse me. Hi. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm still a little, phlegmy this morning. Welcome to Meet the Movie Press. I'm your
glamorous host.
I'm your gorgeous and beautiful host, Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of the Tracking Board, tracking-board.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @TheInSnyder. With me, as always, is...
Hello, Simon Thompson. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ShowbizSimon. And I have a Facebook page. This is Simon Thompson.
And with us today...
Yeah. Hello.
You might recognize him.
Yet again.
Our own Ryan Gosling lookalike, Justin Kroll from Variety.
Thanks, guys.
Where can the folks find you?
I am a film reporter at Variety. You can find me on Twitter at KrollJVar. I don't give out my Instagram and Facebook.
That's private.
Set up a secret fan page.
Friends and family only.
I don't even put my stories on there, so you don't need to go on there.
Referring to Ryan Gosling, can I just say, I was in a bar, the Dark Room on Melrose in LA. It's one of my locals, a couple of days ago. And there was a guy sitting in a booth there, and he was like, if you got Ryan Gosling and Nick Cage and you merged them together, he was like a weird facial mashup. And I showed a friend, he was like, holy shit.
By the way, I would love to see a Nick Refn movie with Gosling and Nick Cage.
Yeah.
That would be so fucking sick.
Awesome.
I would like to see a good movie with Nick Cage in, because we haven't seen one of those for a little while.
I just watched Vengeance, a Love Story, and it wasn't that bad.
Oh.
It's always
Is that going to get used on the poster?
No, I saw the whole movie.
Wasn't that bad?
Wasn't that bad?
I saw the movie.
Yeah, this is my this is my airing of grievances edition of Meet the Movie Press.
Kroll's got some stuff to get off his chest. You're like the Alec Baldwin of this show. You're like in the 10 Timers Club or something now.
I mean, the boss is out of town this week on vacation, so I was like, you know what? I can afford to get in a little early on Friday, so let's see if Jeff's got space.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, what do you want to start with today? Is there anything that you want us to lead with?
Elephant in the room. Let's talk about that page 6 Daniel Craig thing.
Cool.
All right.
It drove me nuts.
We'll talk about Jimmy James Bond, and apparently reports coming from Page 6 and other sources that Daniel Craig is going to return as 007. Are you guys surprised?
No,
What?
Not at all surprised.
No, I mean...
There's no director on this yet.
So this story.
Break it down, homie.
All right, here's my... This is...
Give him a beat, Simon.
This is so...
Skyfall. That was the whitest I've ever been.
So, this thing's been going on forever, and everyone and their mother thought that, every other person was up for this movie. Here's the reason. Listen, this was, I thought, a legitimate story, and Page 6 has been doing this more and more, and I thought, that lead, what they focused on, or not what they focused on, but that main element of him coming back was a good thing. The problem I had with this was this Hiddleston thing about it, about how he was too smug.
So smug. What?
And this is what drove me nuts, is that no. Every time there was a crazy story over the past couple of years of Idris Elba or Jamie Bell or Tom Hardy or
Jack Houston. Don't forget Jack Houston.
And you name it, they were into it. I would call up people that knew what was going on, who are tracking this for their clients, and it was always, it's still in Craigland. Here's the thing, folks. When Daniel signed on for Spectre, or signed on for a re-upped after Skyfall, he signed on for a 4th film with an option to do a 5th film. Once Spectre ended, once Spectre was done, it was up to him. Eon didn't give him a deadline, and until he said no, there was no other second choice. They may have met randomly with people, but there were no legit,
because you have to be prepared to in that event.
Exactly, but there was still no legit let's take this seriously type of meetings. And this Tom Hiddleston next choice, that story read it was between him and Craig, and it's just not the case.
Well, I just wanted to, what I had heard when you mentioned option. Whose option? It can't be Daniel Craig's option. It can't be a player option where if Daniel Craig's well, if I want to come back, then I'm coming back. What if they didn't want him back?
Well, no, that's the thing. They clearly made it clear to him that they did want him back no matter what.
They really like him.
Yeah.
I heard that it
really
was
like him.
their option on him. Like they had him under contract for X amount of films, and they could always bring him back for a fifth one if they wanted, or whatever the hell it was, and that they were prepared to sue him if he didn't come back. That's what I heard. That they were. Okay.
That's not the case. I talked to someone who's 3 people who are extremely close, and every time it was like, yeah, Eon wants him back.
Yes.
And Craig is taking his time. Like,
well, I mean, that's what I'd heard as well. But what I'd heard was that if Daniel Craig was like, no, I'm done with it, they were prepared to like enforce and be like, no, you're coming back or we'll sue you.
Possibly. I had heard. I mean, that
That's
could have
what
been a
I heard.
possibility. But from my understanding is like, Craig was just... was in no rush, and Eon wasn't trying to rush him.
Simon's the Brit here, so, and this is a British franchise, and honestly, I don't even track James Bond that hard because it always seems like the British press breaks it, or a weird place like Page 6.
No one can crack that code. Even Fleming's been doing this for years. He can't get on the Eon doors to get.
Yeah, it's tough. So Simon, enlighten us.
I mean, for me, it was no real surprise that he was going to come back. I mean, I wasn't a fan of Spectre. I didn't think it was the strongest Bond movie. Bottom line is the fact that Daniel Craig needs James Bond. James Bond needs Daniel Craig right now. They're both kind of really attached. I think also Daniel Craig, we talked about this before the show. He made the comments about he'd rather slash his wrists than go back to doing Bond. Now, it's not necessarily doing a Bond movie that makes him want to slash his wrists. It's all the shit that comes with it. Daniel Craig is not the world's chirpiest person. He's kind of reclusive. So the idea of doing a film where as soon as you announce this film is happening, cameras, journalists, blah, 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 you have 18 months of continual, intense speculation, intrusion. That's his idea of a personal fucking hell. So doing a Bond movie is not doing Bond again would be a nightmare for him. It's everything that comes with doing a Bond movie. Am I surprised he's come back? No, because as I say, he needs Bond as much as Bond needs him. He's also very popular within the camp, and even though he's not a box office draw with many other movies, with Bond he still is. He's the most Bondy Bonds that we've had for quite a few incarnations, I think.
Justin, would you agree that Daniel Craig needs Bond?
100%.
Yeah.
So
look at everything else that he's done.
Right. It hasn't been good. Now I know he has Purity. Right. That's a show coming up, and Logan Lucky, the Soderbergh movie. So that's 2 big projects that could be cool.
Was a good he'd use that, but I also just get the sense he's made so much money from this franchise that he's very content on doing it. Occasionally putting something else in there and just having like a personal life with Rachel and the kids type of situation. All right. Let's switch gears over to that second element of the Barbara Broccoli supposed comment about Hiddleston.
Oh, okay.
That drove me nuts.
Right.
This is why I got so frustrated. All right, so, and by the way, on the Craig thing, it's not official yet. Like, we're still kind of waiting for Eon or Boz over.
Right, there's no official word.
It's expected.
It's just heading in that direction.
Yeah. So the story goes on to say that Barbara Broccoli, Hiddleston lost out because he was too smug, according to a source close to Barbara Broccoli. Let me tell you something, folks. Okay, and then that was said, and then everybody ran with that, including The Ringer, which I like that site, but sometimes, they act as if they're an expert when they have no insight on what the hell is going on.
Sure.
And they focused on the Hiddleston of it all. I think the headline said 3 ways to save James Bond. That's another thing that drives me nuts. Is this franchise.
It doesn't need saving.
By the way, before Craig came on, the last Bond thing was that awful Denise Richards, Pierce Brosnan.
Right,
thing.
that's the level that we were at.
This thing was for people forgetting that, people thinking this was The Godfather, when it first
There
started.
have been plenty of shit Bond films.
Spectre was not a good movie, but it was still better than about 90% of the Roger Moore
100%
movies
agree.
and half the Pierce
Roger
Brosnan
Moore.
films. So that's a whole nother subject, but. The Hiddleston thing, the reason I was just so frustrated is Barbara Broccoli is one of the more close to the chest, keep things private producers in Hollywood. And especially about this project, for her to suddenly be talking shit about a person who's in the mix is totally out of character. And if there was someone close to Broccoli that was told this, they wouldn't say anything in fear of getting fired.
Right.
You know who said this, folks? Probably an agent at CAA or UTA or ICM who, as Jess knows that if they're talking to the Post, they can talk shit and then this person will probably run it.
Right.
That isn't that clear as day right there?
Also, having dealt with Tom Hiddleston many, many times, he is not smart.
That's the thing is, Tom is a nice, like,
He's a nice
I've heard
guy.
I've heard he's a very nice guy.
Very
but
charming,
what
very
is your
nice.
stance on him as a movie star? Leave the night manager out of it for a second.
Oh, that was
like
the
him.
thing too. It's like he's in the Night Manager, and everybody crowned him as the next James Bond. It drove me nuts.
But like as a film star, to me, he has left much to be desired.
As a film star, for me, I get your comment, but I think he just hasn't had the right material yet, and I think Bond would be an excellent fit for him.
Thought after Thor, the first one,
Yeah,
as
he was
Loki,
good
I
as
like-
Loki. That's
I
still
was-
his best thing.
Yeah, it
I
is,
was like, oh, this
definitely.
guy's got potential. But you're exactly right. Since then, it's like Kong was his first thing outside of the
He
Avengers.
was invisible in Kong.
Yeah.
I do not remember
He had
him
nothing
in
to
the
do.
slightest.
He had nothing to, like, for
Right,
the first
part
hour.
of
He's
that's
like
the
pointing them in the
script
right
and the
direction.
Yeah, I was going
And
to say, that's
part of
not
it's
his
him.
fault. That's script and
Well,
direction.
I mean, you can't like
We've seen him
totally
in the-
force the blame on the director and the writing.
Yeah, we've seen actors make a lot out of a little.
But we've also seen him, do really simple scripts. With the Night Manager script is very simple. The plot is convoluted. The script is very simple. But he absolutely nailed that and delivered that with
Well, what
charisma,
is the
flair, and
Night
intensity.
Manager? It's a TV show.
It is,
We're
yeah.
talking about movie star. Listen,
Yeah.
by the way, Daniel Craig. After you saw Road to Perdition, I don't think people were like, "That's the next James Bond."
Right,
by the
you're
way.
right. Exactly. I was thinking the
who's-
same thing.
Who knows necessarily? I mean, that's been Bond in a nutshell. Pierce Brosnan.
Daniel
like,
Craig was not someone who was
Timothy
rumored back
Dalton
then.
looked like a fucking geography teacher.
Listen,
Let's be honest.
What school did you go to?
like,
What,
like
MI5?
Connery wasn't what he was. Like they make what it is, and Roger Moore definitely didn't turn anything out of the Bond series after he left it. But yeah, I'm with
Okay.
you. Like he hasn't proven it yet. But my point is like that my anger came on this story is like this person had the perfectly good the scoop. And it's completely overshadowed by this Hiddleston thing that
Right.
I couldn't take seriously because A, Broccoli would never go out and say that in publicly, and B, Hiddleston didn't lose this. It
Right, it wasn't
next-
his to lose.
Yeah, what are you talking about? And it clearly seemed
Right.
like she saw him as the Google
That-
search Tom Hiddleston.
That
like,
was the media sort of creation.
like she saw like
Okay.
that crazy story that Tom Hiddleston was in talks a year ago and was like, oh, he must have been next up.
Well, like the go ahead.
Well, in the chat, people are saying that they're generally agreeing with what we're saying here, and obviously on both sides of the conversation. But people are asking, who would we like to see direct the movie? Ooh. Because if Sam Mendes, a lot of people do want Mendes to come back. But I don't think he's coming back. I think he's done.
not. He is.
Yeah,
done.
I think
he
he's
is done.
Who would you like to see direct? I mean, obviously, we've got the names that have been bandied around previously, Guy Ritchie, etc., etc. But who else would you like to see?
I mean, Chad and David have to be the guys, right?
No,
They would be great. They would deliver a good Bond movie.
Do you think they deliver like kind of a? I guess again, now I'm taking it too seriously. But are we talking about like Daniel Craig's next James Bond?
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, you're right. The scheduling probably doesn't work out. Those guys are super busy with a lot of.
And
other
I just
stuff right
don't know
now.
yet if they like. I've seen too many of their films where it's just like fun stunts and no story. So
I see what you're saying there. I just think from an action perspective,
Oh,
it would
absolutely.
be sick to have either one of those guys.
Absolutely.
What about you?
I mean, Gareth Edwards has
Yeah.
Pitt found his next
From
thing yet.
Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I liked Rogue One a lot, and I've liked what he's. I mean, I know you weren't a fan necessarily, or of
It was okay.
Godzilla.
It was okay.
But I would like to, and he's a Brit too, right?
Yes, he is.
Not
Yeah.
that it means you. It's not like
It helps.
It's not like it,
does.
does, but clearly it helps.
Yeah, yeah.
it's like when you say you're Jewish in the entertainment industry here.
Are there many?
Actually,
Nah,
no.
it doesn't-
okay,
It's never
I'm
outweighed.
really reaching you. James Mangold would be.
Mangold
Yeah.
would be good coming off Logan.
I don't-
That would be a great idea.
Matt Reeves.
I mean, he's busy.
He's busy, but I
He'll be
mean,
busy for the next
yeah,
few
he
years.
doesn't miss. That's just. I mean, I like John McTiernan. I watch this show.
Good.
I do watch this
Good.
show.
Good.
No, I think Mangold would be kind of
I was
cool.
also thinking, I mean, it's might be a ludicrous idea, but what about Ben Affleck? Because even though we haven't seen him do action so much, we've seen a little bit of that, but not so much.
Affleck played a villain. If he played like the Bond villain and directed himself, that
I
would
wouldn't
kinda
buy
be
that.
Cool.
I wouldn't buy
No?
that. No,
Really?
I wouldn't buy that.
Kinda
I
see
like
him.
No, I'm not so sure about that. I would like to see him direct. I think he'd bring the right tone of drama to it, and I think visually, I love Affleck's eye. Well, both of them. He's got two of them.
Matt Damon. Matt Damon.
He's
would be-
not a fucking
I would
Cyclops.
like if they had an American villain like Matt Damon. I would love if
Right.
it was
Yeah.
like Craig and Matt.
Yeah.
We haven't had a female villain in Bond for a while. I mean, not to get like all PC, and I'm not doing it because let's get a woman.
Charlize.
Yeah,
Right.
Charlize. Well, she's kind of done. that.
She's done too
Helen
many.
Mirren. Helen Mirren.
who turns up in Fate of the Furious. Have you seen it yet?
I have not. Yeah.
All right, let's move it along from Bond.
ahead.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about. I mean, there's a million things to get to this week. I feel like we're already halfway through the show. Let's talk about the 14 Transformers movies that
Yes.
Michael Bay casually mentioned.
They're like buses. They are buses. They're in disguise.
They had a writer's room. This is apparently what came out of that writer's room. I think it's fine if you have 14 scripts lying around. Just don't talk about it, Michael.
Just go
it was
direct
like
your
a
El Chapo
bragging, like
movie.
a hey, aren't you impressed? We have 14 more movies lined up. No, but this is not like a thing that fans want to hear.
Can I just say, I've never been in a writer's room, but is there a massive bowl of Coke in the middle of the table and people just take handfuls of it and shovel it up? And at some point, somebody goes, you know what would really, really good? If you had like 14 more Transformers movies. Yeah, that's a good
Everybody
idea.
gets a
That's a good
spin-off.
idea. I'm
You
really
get a
hungry. Let's go to
spin-off and you
Taco
get a
Bell.
spin-off.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's what happens these days. I don't think anybody is crying out for 14 more Transformers movies. How many franchises have gone like that'll be like 20 movies?
Fast and Furious is getting there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. But, that's
But
gonna,
again,
that's
when
gonna
that
be 10.
movie, when the second one ended, we didn't think there were going to be 9 of those. But just go direct your El Chapo movie, Michael. Just come on.
I love how he left the door open for a return after saying
course
like
he
each of
did.
the last 3 times I'm not doing
don't
another
challenge-
Transformers
Like you
movie.
have enough money, just like 13 hours was really freaking good. I know it didn't do specifically great. El Chapo I promise you would do much better because of that
Sure.
topic.
I don't just think anybody wants 14 Transformers movies. And I'm also like, Paramount, come on. You have not had a brilliant run in the last 18 months, but you are
By the
better
way,
than this.
We'll see if Jim G allows 14. Like we'll get to
Yeah.
more Jim G stuff as he comes. Like
I just want Shia back, guys. I just want Shia.
So I
back.
want-
the
Shia
Man
wants to come
Down
back.
stuff this week that Brent Lang was covering. About the
Right.
one-
Okay. That was such a ridiculous story, though. So Shia LaBeouf's movie, at first it sold 1 ticket, and
did.
then it hit the press, and then
It sold
there was
3.
3 tickets.
Yeah, I wrote that up.
So you're made to think that in the entire UK, only 3 people saw this movie.
Can I just say that I in my piece for Forbes this week, I put it in context.
Yeah. It was just one theater in a
Yeah.
tiny little town.
One
right?
showing a day during
Yeah.
the middle of the day in Burnley in the north of England.
It's a great headline though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Act like
I
that.
guess you're right. It's like that's like a VOD title that just like escaped into a theater.
Well, find my piece on Forbes. I don't know if you had time to look at it, but find my piece on Forbes and I put it in context, and it is worth sharing because a lot of people, and obviously with the market is changing, the industry is changing. We are seeing quite a few of these movies with big names in them who are getting. It's different to having a flop, which you would have like 5 or 10 years ago. It's like these films are given a very limited release, then they get either simultaneous or immediate home entertainment release. Like Pierce Brosnan had IT out
Man
in the UK
Down
the
is an
week.
iTunes rental, like off the top.
Yeah.
It's
Listen,
perfect for.
There's a lot of
VOD.
fake news out there. Simon Thompson at Forbes, he has the truth.
Check it
so head
out.
over
Seriously, it puts it in context. So.
Back to.
But I hear they're doing 14 sequels to that at
yes.
Paramount, yeah.
there. Let's talk about
Yeah.
Christian Bale,
Yeah.
who is in
no-
talks to play Dick Cheney for Adam McKay. He's gonna. Amy Adams is gonna play his wife, Lynn Chaney. Steve Carell is in talks to play Donald Rumsfeld. Brad Pitt is producing this. This reunites the team behind The Big Short over at Paramount. Kroll, take us through this one because you were on top of this shit.
Another. This was all right. We're also going to get into how to get under the skin of a trade reporter. How this story came to be is a very good example.
Okay.
So let me go to the beginning before I get into why I was so like Jeff can read my. Actually, don't read my text because they'll throw people under the bus. But Jeff was in the middle of my anger when this all went down. And McKay announced in November, right after the Trump's victory, that he wanted to do this Dick Cheney movie, and I did not take it seriously at all. I was like, I thought this was a response to what was going on. Adam was very vocal about he thought it was a joke of what's happening. I thought this was like, but it now seems that he really wanted to do this film. And as I was tracking it, I had heard Christian's been his top choice. I've known for about 2 months. So it was originally Christian and Brad was Rumsfeld, and then Brad was busy with other things. Brad Pitt is also producing this,
Right.
So it was the same case as Big Short. About like a month and a half ago, there was that story that McKay still planned to do this movie and get it out for award season. They were doing the really early award season stuff. I read
Right.
somewhere. So I checked in with the McKay guy, and they were like, yeah, I mean, we're just waiting on Christian. I was like, oh, wow. So Christian is very much into possibly doing this. Because when I had earlier heard that, and no one ever took it really that seriously. So on, I'd say, when did it break? Wednesday?
Yeah.
Story breaks Wednesday. So on Wednesday about 3:00, I get one of my sources tell me, hey, the Chaney thing, it's going to be Bale, and then Carell's going to be Rumsfeld, and Amy Adams, it's going to be Lynn. I'm like, oh, wow, this is
Okay, so you didn't get those other two names until the day that the story broke.
Yes, that thing came together. And that's when I knew, oh, maybe there's something coming together. I'd already prepped a story on Bale. I went in there and fixed it up with Carell and Adams, obviously. I called I won't tell where because I'm going to get into why I was not happy about it.
Only one agency is involved that reps all the players. There's only one agency and one studio.
Yeah, so I called what needed to be just to kind of get the ball rolling. This was a lot of cooks in this kitchen, so I wanted to loop everyone in then. I'm getting ready to head out, go to a screening, and it's 5:20, and I get a call. Yeah, you're on the right track. Others have called, so you should get something up right away. And I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
And we had a rush. We missed it. Mike didn't. No one claimed exclusive on this. I'm shocked. No one claimed exclusive on this. So as I'm getting ready to leave, then a publicist for one of the people calls, and why didn't you give me the heads up? And I'm like, this broke on dead. I'm
right. You don't have
about
time always to give a heads
also,
up in this
it broke
business.
elsewhere. Why are you yelling at me?
Right.
And then I'm heading to my thing, and I call someone to explain what happened because I felt bad, obviously. And while I'm explaining all this, they're like, "Yeah, well, this person's trying to get a confirmation." I'm like, "Wait, excuse me? I thought others were on this." So I was. This thing could have easily been controlled. Went out, so I was not happy on it. So that's how you get under my skin.
Simon, could you, if you knew for 2 months that Christian Bale was McKay's choice to play Dick Cheney, would you have sat on it? I'm curious. I want to get your how you handle that.
In a minute,
would you have done that?
I've sat on stories like that before. There was some casting that was announced this week that I knew 6 months ago was originally going to be someone else.
Who? Oh, which one?
You say which project?
Which project?
It's to do with Ben Wheatley's next film.
Okay, Freakshift.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were Dumbo or something like that.
Oh no. But yeah, so I have sat on stories like that.
Okay.
And I obviously having friends in the industry. We all have friends who are directors, producers, and actors and stuff like that. You do sometimes just not put stuff out there. You do sit on it for a while, either because the time is not right,
Sure.
or there's going to be you could go out there with one piece of fruit and there'll be 2 other pieces of fruit they'll give you. It's sometimes you do that. Yeah, sometimes I think you just have to do that, but also other times when there are other foxes heading for the chicken coop, you just got to get the green light to run with
Fox
it.
is heading for the chicken coop. I like that one.
Sorry, I've been to the south.
I probably would have dropped that Christian Bale thing long before. To me, that was casting news on the level of Steve Jobs sort of thing. It was very high on my list.
So
of things that I wanted to solve, and I literally just had a feeling. I checked in the day before that news broke to start asking around about it, and I just got there too late.
So when I had originally heard from a previous source, they were like the legitimacy, they just didn't think Bale would be doing it. I wasn't gonna put something out there if that Christian had already passed on, because the secrecy of this was
he passed on Steve Jobs. He passed on George W. Bush.
Yeah,
which I didn't know. I didn't know that he was offered that either.
Didn't even, not at all. He was so much better.
Yeah.
But
John McTiernan would have been so much better
for the W movie as well. Him and Oliver Stone could have collaborated.
Sorry,
but
go
no,
on.
Back to so that's why I held off, and obviously the Brad Pitt thing went away. So I was
right. You wanted to see how that would play out.
Maybe, I guess when I first heard that Bale was interested, when I got it from a reliable, it was more of protecting the source. That would have probably screwed things up, and that person's fairly well off. So last thing I wanted to do was blow up a relationship. So that was probably my thought process. But yeah, if I didn't have as good a relationship with the people involved, that story probably goes up.
So bearing in mind that obviously, McKay's track record, and I'm really enjoying him doing the more dramatic stuff. He's done quite a few of these pieces now, and I think he's actually even more able to turn out a really good drama than he is actually a comedy.
The Big Short was dramedy in my mind.
Yeah, it was very much so.
Very like with the Margot Robbie Bourdain stuff, the way they handled things, Carell's character.
Right.
Clearly
his
the
comedy is
subject
very
matter, and the ending was very dramatic in a way, and but it still was
But
like
I think the way
it
he
was a
captures,
satire.
yeah, and I think the way he captures the dramatic elements of films is he's a very able and completely deft comedy director. But I think the way that he handles drama, he has an even greater level of skill in that.
I'm curious what the tone will be
I
for
don't
this.
think the tone's going to be like Game Change or like Recount, like the way Jay Roach did, who was also a comedy director. I can see more of like, I don't know. I don't know how you make. I can see like Financial Guys. You can add humor to it in a way. I don't know how you make.
Can you see him as Chaney? Like, can you see him undergoing that transformation and
Do you know
bald
what?
with glasses?
In my mind's eye, I can't. But Christian
why I
Bale
found-
has
that was the other
surprised me
thing.
so many times with his transformation and stuff
Right.
like that.
Oh, yes.
That I'm like, sometimes it's the fact that he's so far away from some of these characters. The transformation is so completely extreme that you do buy into it. It's not like, say, we've seen with Steve Carell previously for Foxcatcher. It was like he put on a little bit of, prosthetic
Right.
stuff. But the look wasn't that different to Steve Carell. You could tell it was different, but not that different. You could still see him in there. When you do a transformation that we do sometimes with Christian Bale, it is so extreme that it's completely believable, completely immersive. So I'm looking forward to it. So do you think we're going to see, I'll refer to it as Adam McKay's dick pic. Do you think we're going to see a lot of that at Oscars 2019, if that's
No,
what they're
I
aiming
think-
for?
So here's the thing. You said, are you okay?
My headphones just got super loud. Sorry.
Okay.
Did you hit anything down there, like a
Oh.
knob? Are they
Hello?
are they still too loud, Krill?
Yeah.
Can we turn down his headphones in the booth, or
I would disappear under the desk, but that's Hollywood.
Hello.
Is that okay?
It's super echoey.
Super loud?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
No, that's cool.
What were you
oh,
gonna say?
it may be echoey. I don't know. Maybe mess with the wire. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Just keep. What were you asking? You said the Oscar.
Yeah.
I think this is this year.
I don't think it is. So you said spring, I know, and that's what I assumed because I had heard that this movie was supposed to be ready for the fall. So the New York, let me tell you how big this story was. Fucking the New York Times picked it up. They did an in-talk story, and they said the fall. And I went back to literally pose that question yesterday, and I got fall as well. So I'm told it's shooting in the fall, and that would make it very difficult to come out for December. I think if it started shooting in September, that's the fall, right? And not August.
Yeah.
So September. To have this movie ready by December,
Super tight.
that's tight. No.
I just don't think it shoots in fall. I think at least this like they're gonna move pretty quickly. I feel like June or July. None of the like. I looked. I don't think anybody has anything like they're about to start shooting or like they have like a lineup of stuff. Like they're not like The Rock or something like that where they got multiple things like set up for years. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially Christian.
But when you say so, you think maybe summer because the spring. It's already spring. We're already in April, and Carell is
in
shooting
May.
Beautiful Boy.
Oh, because Beautiful Boy is going to take 75 days to shoot.
That is a big movie. I'm pumped for that.
But he's shooting that right now. It's already
Yes.
started.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter whether it comes out this year or next year. Paramount has a big award slate already. They have Alexander Payne movies, George Clooney, Aronofsky,
Transformers.
They probably don't need it, but
Transformers,
I
which
mean,
will
again,
probably has
Get
the
a-
best shot
get
of
a
any of those
nomination.
movies of actually getting an Oscar nomination.
They probably will for effects or something.
But back to I just got from the person I talked to originally said, "Oh, we're just waiting on Bale." They made it seem like this thing was going to get geared up pretty soon.
Okay.
So that's my take. Listen, that could have changed.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like when I talked to that person, Amy and Steve weren't involved, and maybe they do. Have
I
something
mean,
that pushes it.
the way that they say, it's going to start in the fall, that could just be to take the pressure off, like the award season debut expectations, and then and Paramount is known for those last minute movies that
Short
surprise,
was
like
that.
Silent. Exactly, Big
Yeah.
Short came out of nowhere. Silence was a very last minute thing. Anyways, we'll move it along. Simon, you pick what's next.
Okay, can we do a Schwarzenegger three stories here?
Yeah. There were
Okay,
a bunch of
busy
them. Go
week
for
for
it.
Arnie.
Take us down the list.
Get down. Okay, so this week we found out most recently that Schwarzenegger's Legend of Conan project, which has been, talked about for what, 5 years? 5 or 6 years?
Talked
Yeah.
about is like
Yeah.
Talked about.
Written about from a Mike
it
Fleming
was.
article.
It's been developed for 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think.
I never
Apparently
ever thought
dead
that was
now.
happening.
I'm quite happy that's not happening. I mean, I just think we should just leave that behind.
There wasn't
Yes.
like an open directing job for that one.
Nobody
This
is
like-
pining for a new Conan the Barbarian movie.
No, I don't think
especially not
anybody
with
in
him.
Universal is crying at their desk.
If
for
they
that.
did it, John Cena. He's the way to go, right?
Oh, I love John Cena right now.
Yeah.
Love him. Also, he won't be in the Predator remake.
That's a
Shane
bummer.
Black's.
That would have been fun if.
I knew they fucking asked
Do you know
him,
what?
though.
I'm torn on that because even though I do genuinely love Arnold Schwarzenegger, I mean, his heyday, his movies, I absolutely still love them to the core. But whenever I'm thinking, yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger's in the movie, and then he turns up, like in the Terminator movies and in various other things, I'm just like, oh, God, can he just retire? Because as much as I want him back, when he's back, I'm like, oh, that wasn't really good. Like in the last Terminator movie, I was just sad.
There was other people I had
Through
problems
that.
with in the other Terminator movie, but I actually thought him getting one more at that, I didn't mind. I liked him in Maggie.
And yes.
And it depends who he's working. Like I feel like Shane Black could have given.
Yeah, would have something really nice.
It's nice to know that it's set kind of in the Arnold Predator, the original universe that Shane.
Right, if there was room
wasn't
for
bo-
him.
yeah.
Shane Black took to Twitter this week and said that he didn't have enough to do in the script. He wanted a little bit more screen time.
Yeah.
Arnold.
They had written, so they did write. That
Right, I knew
character.
it, dude. It's still on my board, my tracking board,
Yeah.
if you will.
You see, I would have. I'm still. I think I would have overwhelmingly, if it was like 51%, 49%, like to have seen him in it.
Listen, I could still see it being like a tag or something.
Well, I just want. I mean, it looks like the Twins movie is still going ahead. He seems to think that that's going to shoot quite soon. I mean, lovely, but I don't think that's happening.
if Conan's going away,
Is
I
Eddie
feel
Murphy
like,
available? That's the thing.
Well, the thing is like when that the Twins thing came out, it was like right when Eddie was like getting an Oscar host, and there was like a heat around him. Mr. Church ain't giving him no heat these days. I don't feel like.
Yeah.
And this Beverly Hills Cop movie is like nowhere. So I just don't see people greenlighting a film with 3 actors that there's no market for right now.
I don't know. Transformers.
yeah, I would totally see a triplets movie, but you're right.
Yeah.
Seems-
But also, he's saying that he's not going to do Expendables 4 without Stallone.
Look
Now,
who is doing Expendables.
Let's
Can
talk
I-
about this.
Okay.
Let's talk
This
about
is
this.
not a real movie.
Can I just
Go
say,
ahead.
I loved the Expendables. I really enjoyed the Expendables 2. Not great cinema, but balls against
Sure.
the wall,
But
old
Jason
school
Statham,
action.
and that's all you care about. I know.
Of course, ball Brett's got to stick together. But the third one was absolute donkey dick.
Well,
it was terrible.
It's not just that. It's those films were good, are fine. Like I did, like I'm with you, first, second, third,
Yeah,
not so great.
Great movies.
But I don't know where people like when I saw that story, I'm like, and like my coworker Dave was like, "Should we follow this?" I'm like, "What? No one.
This is Fleming's original story about Stallone, though,
Stallone
right?
not
about
doing it.
Stallone, right? Yeah, okay.
What?
okay.
It's like this film wasn't going into production. This film didn't have like all this cast. This was like some like dream world idea. Like we didn't need a 4th Expendables. What are you
say that?
talking about? It was like
Right, that was a weird article with Stallone going back and forth with Avi Lerner about how they couldn't get
No
along
one
and
was
agree on
talking
certain
about
things.
Like it wasn't like the girl in the spider web or James
Right.
Bond even or something like that. It wasn't like this thing we were expecting to happen.
I'm just wondering if we're at this point where we were 10 years ago with Fast and Furious, and we were like, after Tokyo Drift, we don't need another Fast and Furious movie.
Oh, you mean where people just can't let go and they think they can
Yeah,
get like
and I
17
think it's
films?
just like the next one this could be the next big thing.
Yeah,
I
why
would genuinely,
can't-
I would enjoy a
Why
4th
it got
Expendables
3
movie.
films? Why can't a trilogy just end at 3 films? The story's done.
Because Hollywood's-
Barney Ross's story is over, folks. It's over.
So bring in new Expendables. Let's do something else.
No.
Take them out. What? No?
Why, dude?
This is not
They can't
a
even
brand.
get Expendables off the ground.
Expendable ends.
But that is the next natural,
This was-
direction
is
for
it?
the franchise is to do a female Expendables. Yes,
This was a great idea that they got together, but like this is not James Bond or Jurassic World where we need to like keep this franchise around for like this was meant to like bring it like in my mind the action hero is kind of like a breed that needs to get a reboot. There's not enough people to put into like who would be
there's The Rock and John Cena.
literally like there's not enough to do that. Maybe in 8 years we
Isn't
could do
isn't there a Hemsworth brother that hasn't worked for a while?
Chris, I guess.
No,
Yeah.
they're actually all working.
What about the Hemsworth mum
But
or
I'm
something?
just like the
Mama
Expendables was a cool idea from Stallone, but in no way is it like his Rockies or his Rambos, where this thing where we
No.
can like recast
Oh, no.
it, or Indiana Jones. It's just like it's done.
By the way, the trailer
on.
for Chuck came out last night.
Yeah.
The Liev Schreiber movie where he's the original, the real Rocky. Didn't look half bad.
Yeah, that's called something. There's like something else, The Ring or something. Not it wasn't called The Ring, but it was something. I saw a poster for it
Oh, the
recently.
ring,
on,
like the boxing ring.
yeah, and it was the poster on the offices of Momentum on Wilshire. I drove past it the other day, and it was called something different, but they've obviously changed the name now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Good story, Simon.
Michael Keaton joining Dumbo
plenty
as
more
the
of those.
villain. You broke this, right?
Yeah, I've been
Been all over Dumbo.
So you mentioned
Never
how long
forgets.
I've been holding stuff. Eric Roth I asked about in February in writing Dune. Colin Farrell I asked about in January doing Widows. This I asked about right before Christmas as him as the villain.
Michael Keaton as the villain in Dumbo. Wow. Okay.
It's always the choice. So yeah, it's interesting with this film how that lead role, which they now have Colin Farrell, which I thought was great. Like Saving Mr. Banks, he was perfect in that role. It's similar as the single father watching over his kids who.
Yeah,
fall
you
in
don't
love
need
with
Will
him.
Smith.
Yeah.
You know,
But like everyone else,
going to see the elephant.
everybody else in this project, Simon, Tim's just calling up like, "Hey Eva, hey baby, you want to do a movie with me?"
Right.
Danny, it's been a while, let's go, man. And then Michael's the cool one because they haven't worked since Batman Returns. But he literally is just calling his friends to be in this film, and I love it.
Now, Michael Keaton, I love Michael Keaton. I mean, I really enjoyed The Founder earlier this year. But Michael Keaton, I'm just worried, is he going to, like, channel Beetlejuice for this as a villain? Because there were times in The
at the
Founder when he
Vulture
was doing
footage.
stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah, but the Vulture, I kind of like the footage I've seen of him.
Those
in
are
that.
big, like character characters or whatever. He's a circus owner.
Yeah, Danny
cruel
DeVito
circus
is
owner.
the small owner is the ringmaster, who is then overbought by Vandermeer, played by Keaton. He becomes the owner and wants to exploit and be the cruel circus owner. And
Can I, slightly off topic with Dumbo, but it just suddenly occurred to me, I thought this recently. You're talking about small ringmaster, Danny DeVito. And I was thinking, what he would be awesome is in the Dungeons and Dragon reboot that's been talked about for a long time, if he was the dungeon master in that.
What?
You know from the
You just
cartoon
nerded
Dungeons
out
and
on
Dragons?
us.
No, I
Just
know.
suddenly hit me. Boom! Inspiration.
I mean, I can think of a bunch of great roles for Danny, but I actually would love to see him in it.
He should be a troll in
Are we just naming short
Dungeons and
things
Dragons
now?
No,
movie.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, I think the film is finally given again back to the. So Colin is the father. They need to find two kids now.
Right.
Danny's the ringmaster.
Yeah.
Keaton's the villain, and Eva Green's the French trapeze girl who may or may not be a love interest for Colin.
Oh, I thought that they were parents.
No, he's a single parent. She's the
Oh,
French trapeze
okay.
girl.
Interesting. I was not aware of that. Got it. By
no,
the way,
I'm-
breaking news here. The Trip to Spain coming out August 11th.
You're scaring me, man.
She was only 15 years old.
When you say breaking news, then I have stuff.
I know. It's
I was like,
it's just a
oh.
release date, but it's our thing. It's our thing, Kroll, the Trip. All right. What's next?
Okay, let's talk about. You talked about Eric Roth earlier. He's going to write Denis Villeneuve's Dune.
Yeah.
Now, Dune is one of my least favorite films that I have seen of all time.
Legendary
It
is not fucking around with this reboot, though, given
no,
the talent they've.
but is he
Yeah.
becoming that guy? He's obviously done the Blade Runner sequel. He's doing Dune. I'm a little bit. Is he going to do a trifecta?
I was with
or
you.
is this going to be it?
I was with you on that, and then I read this is like his ultimate
His number
dream.
one thing,
he
yeah.
wants to do this, so I was kind of swaying that way. That was weird to go from like that,
Yeah.
the Blade, the Dune, but he really wanted like this happened, and he raised his hand and said like, I want to do this.
Because I love his dramatic stuff, but obviously this will be the third sci-fi film in a row for him.
The Rival, I understand, is a sci-fi film, but it's
It's a
different.
drama.
It's a different scale.
It's
Yeah.
different scale than
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the popcorny stuff. It worries me slightly that he is doing like these $200 million sci-fi things, but until he's like Matt Reeves right now. Until he shows me something that I don't love, I'm behind
Had
it.
you heard that same budget thing though? That Blade Runner was 200 million.
No, but it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean,
but-
yeah, the cost of movies these days.
I mean, the set,
and how
was so
gorgeous
much
it looks.
cheaper.
Right, they built those sets. It's not all just
That said,
CGI.
Denis is very good with budgets. Like Arrival was like what, like 25, 30 million. Like it was on the lower end.
Right.
So I mean, the thing is that cast is so expansive. I don't think Ryan Gosling was cheap. We all
Right,
know,
this is
we
his-
all
this
know
is
Harrison
his-
Ford did not take a pay
Right,
cut for this.
this is his payday, Gosling. So
Yeah.
I think you're right about that. And listen, I hope Blade Runner does well. It looks fucking great. I can't
Does.
wait to see it. But at $200 million and another, 125 to 150 to market it or something, that's a fucking steep investment. You got to make $700 million
Listen,
basically.
they're all. It's tough. I mean, when like I think I tweeted at you, unless you're Lord of the Rings, Star Wars,
Right, you can't
or-
count on that money.
I forget the third thing I said. It's tough. Like you're not guaranteed anything. Even like when Marvel films like Doctor Strange or Ant-Man are up and running, there's no like, oh, this film's definitely a runaway hit.
Mad Max topped out at like 550 or something.
Yeah. But back to the Eric Roth thing. Legendary is definitely pulling off. Like
going all out
they're
for this.
taking this very seriously.
Have you heard any rumors about cast without getting into any names?
No, they're waiting for the scripts. But clearly, I'm out.
I'm not a Dune guy, so I don't really.
I'm
care.
not either, but I like Denis and now Roth. I'm all for
Speaking
it.
of sci-fi tentpole franchise things, you said that Sigourney Weaver had mentioned that Avatar's going to start shooting this fall.
Yeah, apparently. In news that I couldn't care less about.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll believe it when I see it.
I had a conversation with someone this week because obviously the Pandora World of Avatar is due to open at Disney World like in a couple of weeks' time, and there's going to be a big press event for that. And I'm just like, I don't know if people still care about Avatar that much. But people seem to be still pushing this as if it's still like a really hot thing. I just don't know if there's the hunger.
It'll
be a hit.
When
It'll
the
be big.
first one came out, I was like, is this really going to do, like, are we just giving James Cameron too much credit, and then it became the biggest thing ever?
I didn't love Avatar. I thought it was impressive.
Yeah,
the script was dog
I thought
shit.
it was good, but the rest of Hollywood's catching up with Avatar's technology now.
Sure, but I mean,
or exceeded it.
The first one made $2.7 billion. Like, if we may not think it's the greatest thing ever, but
Right.
No
There's
man
there's an
down.
audience there for
there's
sure.
an audience for sure.
Okay, let me just run down a few director things that I thought were interesting. Joachim Ronning, probably mispronouncing that, but the director of Pirates of the Caribbean 5.
Yeah.
He is doing Micro, the Michael Keaton Criton movie. Sorry,
Yes.
yeah, the Michael Criton movie for Amblin.
Yeah.
That
Frank
that
Marshall
project sounds
producing.
cool.
Frank Marshall producing.
Great.
Seriously. I stand by Frank Marshall. I know Frank Marshall has turned out some movies that have not been great, but
More of a Kennedy guy.
I'm
Sorry.
there.
But Micro Crichton sounds cool. Like, have you guys seen that premise?
I got to read that book.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. I've always been the Michael Crichton, but yeah, I mean,
Okay. No strong feelings about him though. Clearly.
Not really.
let me
Okay.
see Pirates first, and then I'll be a judge.
we
of that.
got,
It's hard for me to base a trailer.
Well,
on whether
first reactions to the new Pirates movie being that it's better than the previous Pirates movies, the last
Yeah, I'll
sort of
give
3 or
it
4.
that.
I'm
How
like,
could it be worse?
Yeah,
Not that
well,
I've seen
exactly.
them, but I've heard they just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So
the
it
last
sounds like
one
this
wasn't
is
bad. It was very like
It was bad.
single. It wasn't bad. The third one was bad, and the second one was.
I don't fucking know because I stopped watching him after the first one. I thought Johnny Depp getting an Oscar nomination for that character is a complete travesty.
I would love to see a good Pirates movie.
No, that's,
I haven't seen
you're
one since
wrong.
the first.
You're wrong. He won a SAG award. Like clearly, people like thought he was good.
I
now.
thought it was ridiculous that he was even nominated. Pablo
So
Larraín
wrong.
came on to direct The True American, taking over for Catherine Bigelow. That sounds like a really cool project. Tom Hardy was not mentioned in the press release that I received from Annapurna.
He's no longer involved.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk that he was still attached.
He was involved because of Bigelow, because of Catherine's involvement.
Because he would have, like, if he was still doing it, they would have included him in that press release. At the time, and again, this could be changing with a new director. I had heard that Riz Ahmed was going to play. Yeah. So, you know, it sounds like those two roles are wide open, but that could be a great movie. And maybe those guys come back to it. I don't know. But yeah, back in the day, I'd heard Tom was going to do it with Riz.
A couple of other things this week. Chris Evans has been doing a load of press for Gifted, which is out in theatres this weekend. It's a small number of theatres, actually. And he was saying there's obviously been talk about Robert Downey Jr. potentially leaving Marvel, and also Chris Evans leaving as Cap. And he said that Robert Downey Jr. is more likely to leave Marvel before he does. Now, that does not surprise me.
Because he came out and said, like...
He couldn't wait to be done.
I couldn't... Like, he did a interview with Variety when he was on his directorial debut and was like, yeah, I can't wait until this is all over. And I'm like, when is your contract done now? Like have you re-upped for 4 more movies or something? Like,
Yeah, but Iron Man
what were you
wasn't
gonna
meant
say?
to be in Civil War. And then Robert Downey Jr. was like, yeah, I'll do it. So he decided to do it.
what'd you say? I'm sorry.
Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man wasn't meant to be
No,
in
it
Civil
wasn't.
War.
He was added in
He was
there.
kind of done with it.
I'm just saying Chris had said repeatedly that he was... And now suddenly he's very much changed his tune.
Here's what I'm saying, that all due respect to these actors who we love watching up on that big screen, never listen to anything they say. They don't know what they're talking about.
Fake news.
They do what their agents tell them to do. And what studios tell them to do, and that's when they're shooting. And I mean, just people put so much stock in what actors say. It's not that important. Anyways,
What else we got?
Jeffrey G Morgan joining Dwayne Johnson in Rampage.
Good for
I used to love that computer game as a kid.
I never played it.
The arcade game? Yeah.
Yeah,
fun.
it was great fun. It was basically monsters smashing the shit out of buildings, and I was
mean,
like, yeah, I'm in. Here's my 50
He's
cents.
gonna be the villain. Is that right?
Wouldn't surprise me.
No, Malin Ackerman is. I don't know.
Yes, of course she's in it as well, didn't she?
I mean, I don't know. Who
You're saying there's only one.
So
villain?
is that the first time that she and Jeffrey Dean Morgan have been together since Watchmen? Then?
Ooh, good connection.
That's a great connection.
Thank
I
you.
like it.
Probably.
2 nerd points.
Probably. I don't know. They do weird. They've done weird stuff.
I mean, I'm
By
not
the way,
saying
that was the movie that was supposed to launch their careers.
Yeah,
and it did.
Maybe this will be the one to launch
I like
their
that you went
career.
with the Batman Returns reunion angle, by the way, for Dumbo. Like, I stole that. I was like, this is
Except
just
for-
too good to pass
Except
up.
for
You're
Colin
right.
Farrell, because there was a bunch of assholes that are
Still.
like, well, Colin was in
Well,
there.
Colin Farrell's like, well, I saw it. I watched it in a theater.
No,
Okay.
that was great. The photo they used on the site was awesome too.
Dan Trachtenberg, we were talking about franchises and stuff earlier. Crime of the Century, this new film that he's doing, is apparently going to be a starter for a new big action franchise that people are getting very excited about. So,
You want to take that?
Yeah, I do actually.
is that it? Okay.
Sorry, guys.
No, that's cool. Don't worry. Yeah, which is quite interesting because I love Dan's work, Cloverfield Lane and stuff like that. I think he'd be really, really good. His work on Black Mirror was superb.
Can I call you back?
So
Yeah, no.
this is actual Hollywood, literally happening.
are in the middle of a
studio.
situation,
In the middle of
people.
a situation.
I knew who that number
Breaking
was.
news.
I know that's a number you have to answer.
Sorry, guys.
So how is Jeffrey Dean Morgan? Is he?
I don't
is that
watch
him?
The Walking Dead, so I've
oh.
always liked him. I've
He's
always
great
liked
on
him.
that, by the way. That show's been elevated since he's been made. He's one of the best TV villains from that. I liked in Watchmen. He was a great villain.
was.
Like he was
Yeah.
great in that role. I really thought he had an
Fucking good in
opportunity.
Desierto. Did you guys see that?
I mean, he's had an interesting career. I mean, it's only been so long ago before he was just a recurring character on Grey's Anatomy, and then he had opportunities to jump off that. So
Can we get a clock just to see how much more time we have in the show so that we can plan accordingly?
yeah,
A couple of other tiny things. Shrek 5 still happening. Woo! Thank God for that. But apparently it's going to be a reinvention of the franchise.
They're blowing it up.
The script is finished.
If Kevin Hart isn't Shrek or Donkey, this franchise is
Well,
doing
Eddie
it wrong.
Murphy is still available for Donkey.
Yeah,
if you want to book him
Mike
in.
Myers is still available too.
I don't know. I don't know what the reinvention entails, but I think it's going to be. I mean, the last time they kind of closed the book on the whole thing, so.
All right,
you know.
we got 5 minutes left.
Okay, Armie Hammer. This is the story I was talking about earlier. Armie Hammer has joined Alicia Vikander in Ben Wheatley's new project Freakshift.
Yeah.
Now, this is basically a story of monster hunters. It's a group of people who are hunting underground monsters. From what I heard about this project about 6 months ago, they're in fact cops hunting monsters.
Yeah.
Cool.
this was a project I was super excited for after
Yeah.
Kill List, and
Yeah.
since then my expectations been lowered quite a bit.
You haven't seen Free Fire yet,
No, I'll probably end up
but
seeing
you
it.
want to. And
I
you
saw it this
saw it
week.
and you
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to Ben about it this week, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Don't
really
tell him
enjoy-
you host the show and he does not like me.
No, well, that's fine. No, but I have a love-hate relationship with Ben's films. Some I absolutely love,
Yeah,
and some
no,
I
me
really
too.
just don't
Listen,
get
that's
at
why
all.
I still fucking see them.
Yeah.
And I feel like some filmmakers ignore that, where they're just like, oh, well, you hated this and you hated that, and you're not a fan of mine. But it's like, wait a second, buddy, I'm paying to see most of these movies or whatever.
No, I mean, I again, I mean, it's really not a personal thing. It's just some of the films don't resonate with me. But apparently, originally, from what I know, before Alicia Vikander was cast, it was actually Charlize Theron that was attached to this.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense.
Certainly, we're having
WME
conversations
clients.
with Charlize Theron, so which would have been really good.
And you want to do box office real fast?
Yeah, box office this week is obviously major release. There's no major releases. We're looking at
going in style.
Smurfs: The Lost Village, going in style. Gifted is 56 theatres, and Colossal, which there's been a lot of buzz about, and I saw
Go
this
see
week and
Colossal. I really
loved.
liked it.
4 theatres. That's a tiny release.
Yeah, it's Neon. It's a new company.
So we're looking at Smurfs Lost Village being about 20 million. We're looking at Going in Style being a very lukewarm 8 million. Looks like Boss Baby's going to retain top spot with about 25.
Yeah, tough date for Smurfs.
Yeah,
Boss
Beauty and
Baby's
the
gonna
Beast
hold.
about 20 million, so then it'll be close third probably
Okay.
for Smurfs. But definitely out of all of those, I would go and see Colossal. Is a really interesting movie, really enjoyable. So
And Ghost in the Shell dies on the vine.
yeah.
Ghost in the Shell didn't do well. Obviously, a lot of blame game being played. I thought Deadline had an interesting piece about it. People are laying it at the feet of the whitewashing controversy. I really don't think that affected ticket buyers that much. I think, though, it certainly poisoned the reviews, and the critics came down hard on this one. I saw it last night, and I actually thought it was gorgeous. I've talked a lot of shit about Rupert Sanders, but I thought that was a beautiful looking movie, and it was better than I expected. It's not great by any means.
I'm not going to say much because I haven't seen it yet, but I will. And since we're 3 white guys, we can't say too much about it. But all I say is
Right.
people that do the whitewashing thing. It's so easy to say that when you're not signing the check. Like it's just
Exactly, and that's what I don't hear. I hear a lot of finger pointing and no actual like solutions
If
or like
Rico,
what would you have done if you were the studio head trying to greenlight this movie at $150 million
If they did
budget?
a Japanese actress and it didn't work, those people that wanted that wouldn't have said a thing. They would have done on with their days. Is like studio execs were getting fired. So
Yeah.
that's all.
I can't see the clock. so
I
it's-
can't see the clock
Can
there
you
in
just
the
pop
booth.
it on top so
Can,
we can
can
have a
you
look
switch
at it?
windows? Okay,
Yeah,
we got under
okay.
2 minutes.
Okay, can I just say, going back to Expendables, a couple of ideas have been thrown around in the
Jesus
chat.
Christ.
Okay, no, I'm staying on this one like a dog with a shitty stick. Okay, here are some ideas for a cast for Expendables 4. Nick Cage, John Cena, Dwayne Johnson, Byung Hun Lee, Kurt Russell, Bruce Willis. I am seeing that movie.
Bruce Willis isn't coming back because he already said he's not getting paid enough. So
Bruce Willis will do whatever the fuck he wants to do.
he's clearly not because he got fired from the third one.
True. That is true.
We'll bid a
Come on, you watched that.
A fond farewell to Mr. Warmth, Don Rickles.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. R.I.P. Man, that was sad.
I was like 30 seconds left in the show. Listen, we got to go back to do a fake cast for Expendables 4. Like,
Everybody wanted that.
R.I.P. Don Rickles. Great in Casino, great in Dirty Work.
Toy Story.
He'll be missed.
Mr. Potato.
Check out that Emma Stone prom video. I thought that was a blast. That was fun. That'll probably do it for this week's Meet the Movie First. We missed a lot of stuff, including Jeremy Renner going to do a comedy, which I think will be great for him.
Yep.
Demian Bashir doing The Nun. Justin Kurzel is doing a cool Nazi movie. But that's the show this week. Kroll, where can we find you?
Kroll at KrollJVar on Twitter. Sorry.
I am Kroll.
And Variety.com, where all my stories get posted.
Simon, how about you, my man?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at SherbySimon, and I have a Facebook page. This is Simon Thompson and Expendables 4.
And I am Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of the Tracking Board, tracking-board.com.
And 6.
Head over there to check out all
Breaking
the
news.
Oh!
Ricky Martin joins
I
Versace
did see
American
that.
Crime Story.
Thank you for watching
And
the Popcorn.
Expendables 4!
Thank you for watching the Popcorn Talk Network. Rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your mom, tell your dad. Have a great weekend.
See you guys.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Christian Harloff, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.